Hey y'all, what's up? So today we're going to be installing and going over the Teraflex high angle Rzeppa joints for a JK. What this does is replaces the factory Rzeppa joints, which take the place of a U-joint in a traditional drive shaft, and it makes it to where the stock drive line can be retained and you can run a higher lift without having the problem of cutting the boot, slinging the grease out, and destroying the joint. So let's take a quick look at these Teraflex units. So in the box, you've got your tube of grease, which you need to use the greases supplied and not your own. It is a high-tack formula that it will not sling out of the joint. You've got new hardware, snap ring, bolts have already got Loctite on them, your half moon support clips, a new dust boot clamp, all that good stuff. You've got your front and rear flanges with the seals already glued in, which is a nice little touch. You don't have to worry about trying to finagle those in there and keep them in the right spot. Your new Rzeppa joint, all packaged and sealed. A little tube of blue Loctite. They also include a tool to install it with that has the beveled end on it. That way you can actually do it with an angle. So that's a really nice touch. I like that. And instructions. So that's everything in the box. What this does, the factory drive line, this radius is not there. So it just kind of comes straight out, and you do not have enough operating angle whenever you get a higher lift in these before the boot contacts this metal piece, and it will cut the boot, sling the grease out, and destroy the joint, and then you're just on the side of the trail broke. I want to give a shout out to Alpha Dirt Off-Road. They're a veteran owned and operated company out of Texas, and they got us these parts at a very good price. They got them to us quick, and if you need anything for a Jeep or a Toyota, they've got it. And if you don't see it on their website, just give them a call. They should be able to get it for you. Really appreciate them getting us this stuff as quickly and as cheaply as they did. So definitely go give those guys a look.
Alright guys, so what he's doing now is we're pulling the front drive shaft. You're going to need to use a 5/16 uniwiggle, makes it a little easier, and a 15mm. And front drive shaft should come on out pretty easy. You might have to raise the vehicle so you can rotate things, but for right now we're just going to go ahead and do it.
There she goes. There we go. There's one. There she blows, just like that, or however way you see fit.
But doing it that way, you don't risk cutting the boot if you did want to save it as a spare. If you were to come in there with a side cutters and just cut the clamp, you would risk cutting the boot.
Yeah. We've got to get this snap ring off. Just like so. Looky there. Comes right out. And see if we can just pull it off.
It's coming. Yeah, there might be a little bit of stuff in there, but
Yeah, she flies right off of there. It says in the instructions that you might have to beat on it, so I wasn't expecting it to just come off of there like that.
well, if you do this before they have tons and tons of miles on there, it probably comes apart easier.
Yeah. Very true.
So we're just cleaning that up. We'll pop it in a Ziploc baggie so that no dirt or anything else gets in there, and that'll be a usable spare that when we take major trips can be thrown in the Jeep.
Yeah. This will probably work on something up to about a 3.5 inch lift, just not at full droop. That's probably whenever you're going to get an interference with this, is, you know, whenever you have the suspension fully maxed out. So if something happens to one of these aftermarket joints and I got to swap it out for one of these on the trail, this will at least get me home. Now it says here a couple of times, same tag on both the joint and the tube of grease. Use all of the grease and use the palm method and fully pack this thing, because the grease is what's going to keep it alive. If you don't pack it right and it has any dry spots in there, it's going to burn itself up and you're going to just waste your money. So make sure that you take your time and pack this thing really good. If you don't know how to pack it, we're going to show you. And that should be the main issue that people will have with this, is if they do ruin these joints, it's probably a grease packing issue. Make sure that you use the supplied grease in the kit, because it is a special formula they have that will not sling out of the joint. If you just, get some, the old tub of grease off the shelf, it's not gonna be the right stuff, and it's just gonna sling out and it's gonna burn itself up. All right, so to properly grease these, we're just gonna squirt a bunch out into the palm of our hand. Just get you about that much, nice glob. You're gonna take your bearing and you're gonna roll it into the grease, just like that. And you're gonna roll your palm in it. And what you're wanting to do is roll your palm like that, and it's gonna push the grease down into all the orifices in here. I'm gonna start by getting some all the way around. Alright guys, so we got her all packed up, and the next step is to clean the mating surfaces where the gasket sits, which is this outside recess right here. So what we're going to do is get a shop rag with some brake clean on the rag, and that will clean this off without getting it, or without removing too much grease in here. You want to save any extra grease, because you're going to pack it in later once you have this partially assembled. So to get it all out of these bolt holes, we're just going to take a bolt, push it through. It's going to run all our grease out like that. And then I'll just wipe it off with my finger. Give it a little spin. And then we'll just do this all the way around. And we'll have us a nice big glob of grease that otherwise would have just gotten wasted or made a mess later. There you go.
Alright, now all that grease that we have accumulated on our Ziploc baggie there is going to be saved for later. Once we start getting it together, we're going to pack that into the joint so it doesn't get all wasted.
Yep. And just make sure that you have both sides nice and packed on the inside where the bearings are. That's very important.
Now this is important we get the surfaces clean here, because this is going to be your sealing area. So if you don't get it sealed, it could just sling grease out. So that's why you want to take your time and clean that surface good, but also try not to remove too much grease.
Hit this one more time. to be good enough. Alright. So we got her all cleaned up. She's still nice and packed, both sides. Cleaned out almost all the grease out of the bolt holes. Save all your excess grease right there. So now, for this next step, there are two sides to the joint. There's a tapered side and a stepped side. Whenever we're going to put the dust boot on, it's going to go on the tapered side, not the step. The step goes on the transfer case. So, we'll take both of these half moons, these flanges, put them on like so. Put our bolts in. We started all those through, and then you want to set them down on the flanged, or the stepped side, the tapered side, the side that I was about to put them.
What we mean to say, not what we really say.
Yeah, do as I say, not as I do. So. Hey, cool, we missed one.
Oh. There we go.
Holy
look at
smokes.
that. In like Flynn.
Alright, well, there you go.
Almost like we knew what we were doing.
Yeah, almost. So, slide your boot clamp over the shaft first. And then we're gonna install our joint. Our old push. She splines in there. Oh, push it.
There she goes.
Give her a nice little pop.
Look at that.
Alright, we'll take our snap ring.
Try really hard not to lose it.
Yeah. Give her some spread.
Make sure you get it seated in the groove nice and good. That's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. Once you slide your dust boot clamp on, and then you put the joint on the shaft, put your snap ring on, make sure she's engaged, then you want to go ahead and put any extra grease in this area where the bearing is, and then you're going to put your end cap on.
Still try to make sure you don't get much where your sealing surface is.
And with this, I'm just kind of goop it in there. Now we can put the cap on it. Like so, make sure that your gasket, if it came apart, make sure that it's stuck in there. Ours came, I don't know if it's pre-glued or not, but it's stuck down. So, put her on there like that. Don't worry about trying to get this seated. It's going to compress together as you install it into the transfer case whenever you put it back in. So just kind of get it snug so it won't want to fall out for now. Alright, so if you're anything like us, you don't have the right tool for this job, so we're going to show you an alternate method. For these clamps, you just take a pair of pliers, grab a hold of the tail here, give her a pull, and it's going to tighten down. Make sure that you have it in the groove all the way around so that she pulls in the right direction. pretty darn tight.
Fold it back over.
So then, once you got her nice and tight, pull it, fold it back over, give it a little push, and then you want to fold it back over in between these two tabs, and then bend the tabs over. Which I will try to do smoothly. Like that.
Alright, now she's on there. They make a special tool to do it, but we've done it this way several times and it's always worked.
Yep. Now after you bend those tabs, make sure everything's pushed down, and you want to bend it over one more time, and that will lock her down nice and tight like. And then once you get it pinched down, trim all the excess off, that way it's not acting as a weight and hitting stuff and slinging everywhere. So, according to our instructions, the assembly portion is done. Now we just got to throw her back in the old Jeep. Because the new flange on this is wider, you're going to have to start the bolts and then go a couple turns all the way around and suck the whole thing in. Otherwise, you're going to run into problems where the head is going to hit the flange, and if you try to go too far too fast, you're going to end up messing up your flange or your bolts or both. You can see what we mean right there. How as soon as you start sucking it in, your bolt heads are going to hit the outside of that flange. So you can only go so far tightening it before you go to give her a turn and suck the rest of them down. Otherwise you'll damage the flange and possibly your bolts. And doing it this way also ensures that you don't put it in crooked. Alright y'all, make sure you put some blue Loctite that's supplied in the kit on the differential side. Just get you a nice little line. You don't need to use a whole lot.
Alright, so the bolts here on the front, the U-joint flange on the front end, they get torqued to 81 foot-pounds, so we got a torque wrench for that. Once he gets those all in there and snugged up, we'll torque those. The smaller Allen keyed bolts on the flange that we just replaced, those get torqued to 15 foot-pounds. Unfortunately, we don't have a torque wrench for 15 foot-pounds, but we've been meaning to buy one, so when we run out to grab lunch here, we'll take my Jeep, we'll grab a torque wrench, and then we'll torque those and be good. Alright guys, so that was it. Honestly, really pleased with it. Install went pretty quick. The instructions are really good. You know, it was very complete. We didn't have any issues, and I mean, time's going to tell whether they last, but I think they will. You know, they look like really quality parts, and you know, knowing Teraflex and their reputation, I expect nothing but good things. And just remember, kids, if you go wheeling alone, be prepared to walk home.